terrible, ghastly global catastrophe. That's what the Whiskey Hotel Oscar Corporation calls lockdowns. The lockdowns they initiated.
This is a terrible, ghastly global catastrophe, actually.
Yep, we were trying to warn the world about what you guys were doing over there, but the social media oligarchs were busy censoring us and shutting us down. I got a pop quiz for you. Why do we have lockdowns? Why did we have shelter-in-place orders? Why are people washing their hands 50 times a day? Why are businesses closed down, never to reopen again? Why are people losing their homes and their jobs and their livelihoods? Let me give you a little hint right here. Oh yeah, that's right, because the Whiskey Hotel Oscar Corporation, which is completely linked up with Big Pharma, told us that we needed to do lockdowns. You remember what we said early on? These lockdowns, these prescriptions to get rid of the cerveza bug are going to be far more deadly than the cerveza bug itself. And it turns out we were right, because the World Health, you know what, has just done an about face. But first, let me go and refresh your memory about what they requested back in, what is this? April, check this out.
This virus will be with us for a long time.
For a long time. Don't expect any relief. This thing's staying around for a while.
There is no question that stay-at-home orders and other physical distancing measures have successfully suppressed transmission in many countries.
And those stay-at-home orders came from who, Teddy? Oh, that's right. They came from your organization. You shut everything down. You caused the world to actually economically collapse. Thanks, Teddy.
But this virus remains extremely dangerous. Early evidence suggests most of the world's population remains susceptible. That means epidemics can easily reignite. One of the greatest dangers we face now is complacency.
Can't be complacent. Got to continue those lockdowns. Got to continue sheltering in place. Got to continue washing your hands 50 times a day. Got to continue wearing your mask and social distancing.
People in countries with stay-at-home orders are understandably frustrated with being confined to their homes for weeks on end.
It's understandable. We know you lost your job. We know that you're not earning an income. We know that you can't afford to buy food to put it on your table so your family can be fed. We know you can't buy clothes for your family. We know you don't have a roof over your head. We know you're about to be homeless. But hey, this thing's going to be with us for a long time. You need to hunker down and you just need to comply.
People understandably want to get on with their lives because their lives and livelihoods are at stake.
Yeah, and who put those lives and livelihoods at stake? It wasn't a cerveza bug. It was people like Teddy Ghebreyesus at the Whiskey Hotel Oscar and the Charlie Delta Charlie Corporation, who are completely linked up with Big Pharma.
That's what W.H.O wants to. And that's what we're working for all day, every day. Mm-hmm. But the world will not and cannot go back to the way things were.
Says Teddy Ghebreyesus of the W.H.O. You know what? It's not going back to normal. This thing's going to be with us for a while. You guys might as well get used to it. That's what he was saying back in April.
There must be a new normal. A world that's healthier, safer, and better prepared.
More controlled, more under the thumb of tyranny. Thanks, Teddy.
The same public health measures we have been advocating since the beginning of the pandemic must remain the backbone of the response in all countries.
In other words, we need to keep on lockdown. Even down here in the Lower Chiron, World Health, you know what, calls for stricter lockdown enforcements. And that's what he does in this 8-minute and 46-second video. He calls for more lockdown. We need to continue with the backbone of this crisis relief program. But check this out. This just came out today. C virus. W.H.O. you know what, backflips on virus stance by condemning lockdowns. Lockdowns have been used to control the C virus around the world, plunging millions of lives into chaos. Now the Whiskey Hotel Oscar has changed its mind. The Whiskey Hotel Oscar has backflipped on its original COVID-19 stance after calling for world leaders to stop locking down their countries and economies. Remember what we warned when this first started? This supposed cure, this supposed attempt at getting rid of cerveza bug is going to end up costing more lives than the cerveza bug could possibly ever take. Dr. David Nabarro from the Whiskey Hotel Oscar appealed to world leaders yesterday, telling them to stop, quote, using lockdowns as your primary control method of cerveza-bug. He also claimed that the only thing lockdowns achieved was poverty. You don't say. Check this out.
But we had Professor Sunetra Gupta from Oxford University on, and she was implying, and I'm interested in you because you have a global mandate, a global view, was that a problem we don't think about in lockdowns is that they're very nationalistic. That if we lock down our economy, then it hits our economy. But it also means we are not buying stuff. We're not trading with weaker economies. We are not just destroying our own jobs. We're destroying the jobs of all those that in the poorer parts of the world that export to us. That seemed to me to be a reasonable point.
Really important point by Professor Gupta. I want to say it again. We in the World Health Organization do not advocate lockdowns as a primary means of control of this virus.
What a bunch of hypocrites. They were the main advocators and pushers and instigators of the lockdown. And now they're doing an about face. The whole reason governors across our country and leaders across the world were initiating and instigating lockdowns is because of Whiskey Hotel Oscar. It was because of Charlie Delta Charlie. These were the recommendations they were giving out. It's because mainstream media was parroting what these people were saying. Now we've got economic doom and gloom and collapse and chaos. People are going to be losing their homes. People have already lost their jobs. They're losing their livelihoods. The suicide rate has gone through the roof. People are turning to drugs and alcohol. And now the World Health Organization says we don't advocate lockdowns as the primary means of controlling this cerveza-bug.
The only time we believe a lockdown is justified is to buy you time to reorganize, regroup, rebalance your resources.
Let me correct that. It is never justified to take away anybody's freedoms ever, because history teaches us that when you take away people's freedoms, you cost them their lives 100% of the time. The thing about history is we don't learn from history, and those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Guys, think about this. In the last century alone, over 250 million people have died at the hands of government that those people who ended up dying trusted. They disarmed themselves for them. They trusted what their leaders were saying, and their leaders led them into a ditch, destroyed their lives, destroyed their bodies. The most formidable virus on this planet is and has always been government.
Your health workers are exhausted, but by and large, we'd rather not do it. Just look at what's happened to the tourism industry, for example, in the Caribbean or in the Pacific, because people aren't taking their holidays. Look what's happened to smallholder farmers all over the world because their markets have got dented. Look what's
because they complied with your recommendations, nitwit. They complied with the Whiskey Hotel Oscar's recommendations, and then they went broke. So here we are 9-10 months removed from this thing, from the initial recommendations. And now they're just realizing, you know what? This could cost a whole lot more lives than the cerveza-bug actually could. Maybe we need to do an about face on this.
Happening to poverty levels. It seems that we may well have a doubling of world poverty by next year. We may well have at least a doubling of child malnutrition because children are not getting meals at school and their parents in poor families are not able to afford it. This is a terrible, ghastly global catastrophe.
This is a terrible, ghastly, global catastrophe, actually. A terrible, ghastly, global catastrophe. Yeah, that's true. Truer words have never been spoken, I don't think. A terrible, ghastly, global catastrophe. Because of what? Because of the recommendations of Whiskey Hotel Oscar and Charlie Delta Charlie. Yeah, it's terrible, it's ghastly, it's global, and it is catastrophic. And, lest we forget, it was all planned and organized. As a matter of fact, according to the St. Louis Federal Reserve President James Bullard, this is a planned, organized, partial shutdown of the U.S. economy in the second quarter. This isn't an oops. They planned it and they organized it.
And so we really do appeal to all world leaders. Stop using lockdown as your primary control method. Develop better systems for doing it. Work together and learn from each other. But remember, lockdowns just have one consequence that you must never, ever belittle, and that is making poor people an awful lot poorer.
You think? You think? So, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, MSLSD, the Communist News Network, Faux News. Did you hear them? Did you hear the W.H.O? They said, hey, no more lockdowns. Are you going to comply with those recommendations? Are you going to let people know what this guy said? Terrible, ghastly, global catastrophe. I'm just going to leave with those 4 words. Terrible, ghastly, global catastrophe at the hands of Whiskey Hotel Oscar. If you guys enjoy these videos, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give them a thumbs up, share them with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, HighImpactFlix.com, and my new website, which is uncensored, undiluted, unvarnished truth, straight to you without worrying about third-party censorship and tyranny. That's HighImpactTv.com. All those links are in the description and in the pinned comment. I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored Shadow.